think we're live. Okay, the last time I did this, Bridget, it was on my phone, and so it's completely changed. It's a whole new world. This is great. So I am Bridget Belden, and I am the author of a Substack called Dancing in the Hurricane. And it's about exploring what it means to find your center and your groundedness in the midst of chaos that's swirling around you. And it kind of initiated from when I used to coach women in midlife, and now I'm still a coach, but I've kind of broadened my perspective. And we would talk about how to find that balance within yourself so that no matter who needed you at what time or what was happening around you in this chaos and swirl, that you would be able to respond versus react, that you would have some kind of semblance of control over choosing, what you wanted to engage in, how you wanted to engage in it, living more with intention. And so I've recently decided, well, over the past year, I've kind of taken some time. Really, it's been 9 months, so this is my baby,
Yeah.
to kind of drop in and understand where I would like to go next. And while I still am super excited about supporting women and will always be an advocate for women, it really struck me that where we are right now in the world is really about what it means to be human. And so I shifted the focus of my Substack, Dancing in a Hurricane, and it's really about finding groundedness and understanding those tools, cultivating those tools so that you can find peace within yourself and be able to navigate the world around us. So I'm very excited to hop on here with Bridget Young, and she is truly an inspiration. I started following her, I guess, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, and immediately wrote your name down as somebody I wanted to talk to one day when I was doing this. And I really want to engage in a conversation with people who are in the midst of their own hurricane, because I think sometimes it feels like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this alone. What's wrong with me? Everybody else seems to be doing just fine. And understand, what are those practices that you put into place to help you stay grounded in the face of what's swirling around you. And so Bridget is an advocate. She's the author of Black Sheep Mom. I'll let you go into a little bit more about yourself, but an advocate. Her son is incarcerated, her adult son, and she's an advocate for families who are trying to navigate this, as well as really just understanding and dancing in her role as mom of a young son, along with two other boys. And I was so struck because it never really um, occurred to me about what it would feel like to have your child incarcerated. And I consider myself um, fortunate in that regard. And I love opening it up to people who are experiencing something that is so unfamiliar to me. And so, Bridget, if you wouldn't mind. Oh, and Bridget spells her name the right way. I'm sorry if there's any Bridgets or anybody else out there.
We
So I would
do.
love to hear if you want to add anything to what I've said about your journey and kind of what you're here to do. And I'll let you take it from here.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I have to say, I noticed right away when you followed me or we linked up because the spelling, I was like, yay, there's another one in the world that does it too. Um,
It's the little things.
it is. Yeah. So I have 4 children, 3 sons and a daughter. And my oldest is incarcerated, which is sort of the drive for the blog. And I appreciate what you said about being someone who's never experienced it, because a lot of people assume that my blog is read by other parents of incarcerated individuals. And largely that's not the case. I get a lot of messages or comments from other parents who say, oh my goodness, I had no idea. I never thought about this from that perspective. That, it could be any one of us, but for the grace of God. So I appreciate that that's your perspective. I have one child who's still at home. So my 3 older ones are in their 20s. They're off living their lives. Of course, the one incarcerated. And then I have a 7-year-old at home as well. So a late in life baby. Being mom's always been, an adventure and a challenge. But having one of your children in prison makes it an entirely different journey. Yeah.
Absolutely. And when we spoke before, you also shared, and I hope this is okay to share, that you're also experiencing long-term health challenges.
Yes. Yeah.
So throw that into the mix.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to take a leave of absence from work almost 2 years ago to the day, 2 years ago to the week.
Mm,
Because I have some chronic health concerns at this point. And so Substack's given me an outlet too to be able to kind of do something on my own time.
mhm,
And it's been a healing journey too. So the writing for me has been, just sort of purging. Um, Last night I was in a Zoom call with other parents and loved ones of the incarcerated. And um, we kind of did a roundtable of, what's going on right now. And I said, I am able to get this stuff out in my blog and it's
mhm,
very helpful. So many parents or loved ones of incarcerated just have to live privately with it, have to just, the shame and what they're walking through, they're alone for the most
mm,
part. Can't even talk to family members sometimes. So I've
mm.
been bold, number one, with my platform, but also it's been very healing. People have been, so kind and so receptive to it.
I think when you say shame, I think of Brené Brown's, um, definition, or how she speaks about shame, is that it really thrives in the darkness. So when you are able to put it out there and talk about it, that it somehow, de-weaponizes it a little bit, takes some of its power away. Have you found that to be the case?
Absolutely. And to have people respond and say, "I've had a sibling in prison. I've also my child has struggled with addiction," or whatever stories get shared back with me, kind of in the same Brene Brown bent. It's when you share, other people feel that it's okay to be vulnerable and share back as well. And in the United States, there's a figure that research says that 50% of all American families have had someone in some level of incarceration, whether that's prison or
Mhm,
um, county jail. But if 50% of us have experienced that, a member of our nuclear family who's been in legal
mm.
trouble, I'm certainly nowhere near a pariah. It's a lot of us. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for sharing
mm,
and being vulnerable, and the courage that it takes to share that, for all of those reasons. So can you talk about, kind of, you know, where you are on this journey in terms of how you get yourself up and out and every day to take care of, a 7-year-old does not have, little requirements. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that comes along, beautiful things, and also a lot of, requirements and,
sure.
jobs, yeah,
Yes.
responsibilities.
So when a loved one goes to prison, yeah, life doesn't stop. You have to keep working. You have to keep um, life churning. So I'm married. Marriage is work. Having a younger child in school who's got piano and basketball and all the things that he needs to do. I've got two other grown children who are, in relationships and buying homes and doing things
Mm,
that young adults do. And so, yeah, there's a lot of life has to go on. I don't get
yeah,
to stop and just be sad that my kid's in prison. I have to be honest, there are days that I don't want to get up.
mhm,
There are days I'd prefer to stay in bed. And illness has taught me a lot about pacing, about not continuing to charge forward. For the first few years of this thing, I did. I kept doing all the things for everybody, and I kept um, insane levels of responsibility. And I'm a therapist, so I was taking on, full caseload of everybody else's problems, and there came a point where my body said, "No more, no more. You're going to have to rest." And so every day looks a little different.
mhm,
Some days I'm able to get up earlier and pace appropriately, and then some days I I can't, and I have to accept where I'm at for that day. And that's been one of the, as a type A and a driven person, that's been a really hard lesson to learn. But rest, stopping and resting is so essential to continuing on.
uh,
That's what I've
yeah,
learned.
you hit so many, because there's kind of there are, the way I look at it currently is that there are practices you can do, like the meditation and the walking and all of that, which help to support really the embodiment of what it means to stay grounded. And you can't, I think what my frustration was when I was still on Instagram was that it made it seem so easy. Like, oh, just meditate your cares away, which anybody who's tried that knows it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so what I love about what you're saying is that it really is about, yes, those tools, which we can talk about a little bit in a minute, but it's also about shifting the way you're showing up and really reflecting on how you're being in the moment, taking that time to really care for yourself, give yourself the self-compassion to recognize it's time to rest. And I'm no good to anybody unless I can rest. And which I imagine also includes having boundaries and saying, "You know what? I'm not gonna be able to go on this live today because I don't feel good,
Right.
or it's just not a good day for me." And being honest with yourself and with other people, I think is so critical, and that is a practice. That is not easy at all, and particularly for women, um, as anybody who is paying attention to this right now knows, that we were taught that it's very selfish, uh, in a bad way to care for yourself, that you are expected to be there and do things for everybody else but yourself. So I love that you have, that this is one of your tools. Um, and we can dig a little bit more in there. The other thing you said that I think is really important is accepting what is,
Mhm.
which I think one of the things I've learned is that the um, struggle and the pain doesn't come suffering doesn't come from, oftentimes the situation itself. It comes from wishing it to be other than it was,
Mm.
right? Or other
Yeah.
than it is.
Yeah.
And wishing that your son wasn't incarcerated, for example, and hoping and oh my God, and beating yourself up. And where did I can imagine as a mom, as a parent, it's like, oh my God, could I have done something differently? Is there something I could have done? Um, and so s taking that first step of just really pausing for a minute and saying, "You know what? This is the situation right now,
Mhm.
and I accept that."
Yeah.
Um
And accepting my own days of frustration over it, you know? There are days I don't wanna pick up the call from the
mhm,
DOC number. I just don't wanna deal with it.
yeah,
And there are times that I don't, and I say the people in the room are more important right now. The people, my 7-year-old right now has my attention and I need to not. But I'm lying if I
mm,
say that then it doesn't just sort of eat at me,
mhm,
and if he calls back and the phone keeps ringing and I have to keep saying, not right now, not right now. Um, it feels like I'm always letting somebody down. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And have you given yourself forgiveness to know that
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's a constant. I don't know that we ever arrive, right? I think that
mhm,
that's a daily challenge. It's something that I have to remind myself, give myself grace. There's plenty of days that I still rail against it and say
mhm,
I can't do another day of this. I'm so tired of it. I'm not, and not being in a good place, but I found that I rebound faster than I used to.
yes.
And
Oh,
that's a win.
yes, 100%. I don't know if you watched the, show Shrinking on Apple TV, but
I've
last
seen
night
a
I
little bit
watched
of
it.
it.
Yeah. So last night, Harrison Ford's character who plays a therapist was talking about with another character the field, which is basically, the theory about the universe and how if you don't accept what is first shown to you, that it's going to keep coming back over and over and over. And even when you do go through those, I think you and I talked about this earlier, when you do go through those moments where it's just like, oh my God, this is so hard. And you kind of navigate your way through and you think, all right, I figured that out. And then the universe comes and goes, oh, surprise, it's going to look totally different. So you're going, oh my God, what is happening right
Yeah.
now? But then you recognize that it's kind of this spiral upward that as your awareness grows and your skills grow, you are paying attention to it more and that it becomes, like you said, the timeline from, the first, oh my God, what's happening to, okay, I've navigated my way through that shrinks, which is really an amazing an amazing occurrence.
We're evolving, right? It's actually
Yeah,
happening. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
absolutely. Um, so currently, in your current situation, what is your biggest challenge you think that you're facing right now?
I think what we were just talking about, the
Mhm,
act of letting go.
mhm,
And I've always said that to my older kids, and they say, "What's the hardest part of parenting?" It's letting go. And I think, um, I have to let go of the hopes and dreams, the sort of backpack of things that I had expected or wanted for my oldest son, letting go of shame and pain and stigma and all the things attached to being the mom of an incarcerated man. I have to constantly let go of things I cannot control. And that's true not just in the situation with my oldest son, but I'm learning in life in general. There's just things, as much as I am a champion of codependency,
mm,
and want to think that I can control outcomes all over the place for all of my kids and for my spouse and for my marriage and for my life in general, my health. Um, I have to let go of my dog's saying hi.
hi.
Let go of expectations that I place on myself, like kind of like what we've been talking about is there just comes a point where you say, this is enough for today. And I think that is my biggest challenge is staying in um, curiosity, not
Mhm.
allowing myself to become embittered and clinging to what could or might be.
Ugh, yeah, that is such a good one for, I think, probably everybody watching this, right? We have these expectations and these visions and these dreams about what could be, what should be, and so oftentimes they don't align with that what is, and that's, again, getting present with what is. Um, if you were to, share with somebody about this process, what practices would you say? And we talked about some of the embodying, like the personal growth work, and that requires a lot of awareness on behalf of yourself of kind of saying, "Oh my god, I'm doing that thing again. What's happening?" I love also that you said about the curiosity, because I think when we're sitting in curiosity, there's so much open for, interpretation and for discovery, whereas if we shut the door on something, I talked about in some of my previous, um, newsletters that, sometimes I will have an argument with my husband, right? And it goes, "No," and he's, "No," and I go and I stew for a minute, and I'm just like, "Oh my god," and I think of all the things that he said were wrong and all the things that, made me mad, and then as time passes, sometimes it like it said, shortens about 5 more minutes. I think, "You know what? How was I showing up? What was it about what he said that triggered me in that moment?" And oftentimes the anger is kind of the layer that points to other things happening. And so that moment of curiosity and allowing yourself time to kind of really explore what that is and reveals so much about where you are in that moment and what you need. And I can then go back to him. This is going back to my original the opening when I said about finding your groundedness and your centeredness so that you can respond versus react. When I'm in an argument, I'm reacting. When I can think about it and get curious and go, "Oh my gosh, this is why this upset me so much," I can then go back to him and say, "I apologize. I clean up my mess and I say, here's what was going on for me. This is the need that I have that, blah, 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 or whatever it is." So curiosity is definitely key, I think. So,
Mm.
kind of to recap what you said, and then I want you to add anything else, but boundaries are really important, right? When you're feeling overwhelmed and something's going on, is to be honest and set those boundaries, which is also very difficult, I think, for a
Very,
lot of people.
very.
Saying no when you need to, resting when your body tells you it's time to rest, particularly if you're dealing with an illness, acceptance of what is,
Mm.
and letting go of the expectations of what shoulda, coulda, woulda been, of what you thought it would be, and then again stepping into accepting what is. Is there anything that you would say to people who are watching this and thinking, "Wow, how can I?" What are some of the things that I can do to get started? Is there anything you can think about that you would
Well, from a
recommend?
cognitive perspective, one of the greatest tools I have is within something called the Nurtured Heart approach. A Nurtured Heart therapist and a Nurtured Heart trainer for other um, clinicians, and that is a relational approach. Really, for me, it came to me as a parenting approach, but I've learned that it's so much more about my perspective in any given situation tends to be, I think, all of our perspective because we're wired this way from an evolutionary standpoint is what's going wrong. We're
Mhm.
scanning, constantly for what's going wrong, even in an argument.
Mhm.
And being able to flip into finding maybe the one tiny little thing that's going in the right direction.
Mhm.
And that requires phew, like a warrior stance, right? To say, okay, everything seems to be going wrong. The call from the county jail is horrendous. Everything's going wrong. What do I have that's right? He's alive. He's alive.
Mhm.
I have that. You're alive,
Yeah.
you're breathing. And and so in any given moment with anything and even in, moments of adrenaline and exhaustion, I can still reset to say, and it's a cognitive shift, right? But what's going right? What's moving
Mhm.
in the right direction right now? You're not bedbound anymore. And just in being gratitude goes with that, right? Finding
Yeah.
small things to be grateful for in a moment of turmoil or chaos has helped me a ton. Um, Physically, I need to move every day.
Mm.
I need to move energy. I have to, whether that's a lot of people know about EFT, like the tapping,
Mhm.
um, stretching, um, in my worst illness, the part of my illness is sometimes was just laying on the floor and getting my legs up against the wall. But releasing what's getting stuck or not allowing energy to become stagnant. I do pray and meditate. Those are helpful to me.
Mhm.
And then from a social standpoint, I attend Codependence Anonymous, which makes me not anonymous, but that's okay. I don't mind. Um, and it helps me deal with my desire to fix and rescue everybody else and, forgive myself daily for the messes that I, have gotten into or created. But it gives me a community of people that help me focus on what's moving in the right direction. And
Mhm.
that's been a powerful force for change for me as well.
Mm. So beautiful, all the things you mentioned. So, what I would say in signing off, A, thank you so much for sharing your story. And B, for anybody that's out there struggling with whatever you're struggling with, I think that your point of just, looking for the one good thing that you can celebrate. And it might be small and you might think, oh, that's silly, but the one good thing, for me, it's like going outside and looking at nature and watching the birds for a minute, which helps me stay centered and grounded. And so, what I would say is, start noticing those things that soothe you, that bring your central nervous system under control, and just kind of makes you relax because from that place you get clarity, right,
Yeah,
and groundedness. Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Ah, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to
absolutely.
say last minute?
No, just thank you for the work you're doing in the world too.
Oh,
I appreciate it. I
absolutely.
appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. And I'd say to anybody else who's out there watching, if you know of somebody who is on a journey or that would like to join me on this, please message me, Bridget Belden at Dancing in a Hurricane. And thank you all for joining. It seems like there's quite a few people on there, so I really appreciate it. And there will be more of these to come. So let me know your feedback, anything you'd like to see. So thank you again, Bridget. We'll be in
Yeah. Thank you, Bridget.
all right. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.